After being kidnapped by a group of unknown individuals clad in full body suits to conceal their faces, a young boy wonders what is to happen to him. Though anyone in this situation would normally be frightened for their life, this young man is different to an almost alarming degree. Despite the constant threat to his life, he keeps his cool and displays a large amount of confidence in the fact that he'll be just fine. There also appear to be some family issues at play here. The confined boy makes it sound like it's quite normal for his father to neglect him and send others in his place. However, his cocksure attitude is soon discarded when the events that follow see him thrusted into a situation beyond anyone's control. With his death coming in the most unexpected of ways possible, he's saved by an unlikely ally. Chapter 1. In a dark warehouse with not a soul nearby, an unusual scene can be observed playing out. Bound to a chair sits a young man. Wearing nothing more than a simple white t-shirt, trousers, and trainers, he seems like a fairly average fellow. With a bag over his head to keep his location unknown to him, he can't see much of anything. As he struggles with his shackles, the presence of another can be felt coming up to him. As this person pulls the bag off the young man's head, an annoyed and angry expression is seen upon his face. Despite his situation, there's little fear to be found in his posture nor words. As he looks ahead of him, he sees the people who must be responsible for kidnapping him. A large gathering of individuals, all of them covered from head to toe in skin-tight bodysuits of black and goggle-like lenses over their eyes. More concerning, however, are the numerous weapons wielded by them, mainly assault rifles and other such manner of firearms. Among their midst is one man with some key differences to his appearance. While the others are all adorned in the darkest of grays and black, this man's bodysuit is a striking yet subtle olive, green. More noticeable, his head is left uncovered. Above an upturned collar that covers half his neck, his face is exposed with a smug look worn upon it. On his scalp lays a uniform and closely cut head of golden blonde hair. Lastly, where the others have goggle-like lenses, this man dons a black and white domino mask. From their outfits, it is safe to assume the men in black are essentially foot soldiers or expendable thugs. The blonde man, on the other hand, must be the one running things, their superior, or at least in this situation he has to be the highest ranked person present. As the young man who sits in his shackles questions what in the world is going on, the foot soldiers begin chuckling at his predicament. Annoyed, he asks if this is some sort of twisted prank. Then, the blonde man walks up to him and leans over to face the boy nearly at eye level. Facing the young man, he tells him that this is simply a kidnapping. His father will pay the ransom they plan to demand, and once he pays it, he'll be sent home safe and sound. To his surprise, the young man simply turns up one side of his mouth and creases his eyebrows in confused irritation. Then, he starts laughing hysterically for some reason. Annoyed, the boss smashes him in the face with a quick yet powerful punch. As an imprint of his fist is left upon his cheek and blood spurting from his nose, the boy looks up at the man who now wears a grave expression upon his features. Stating that he understands the situation, he asks how much the men want as ransom. When the boss tells him they plan to ask for 15 million, he simply turns his head up and patronizes them with blood flowing onto his lips. Nice, he says, not a hint of fear seemingly within him despite the unfavorable situation. As he taps on his phone quickly, the boss man tells the boy they're now to make a video for his father demanding the ransom. He instructs him to give his father a deadline of 2 days to gather the money. With a smirk on his face, the boy says there's no need to worry. His father is going to come in person soon enough. Right then, a banging noise is heard against the warehouse entrance. As electricity suddenly begins arcing around it, the digital lock switches from closed to open in bright red lettering. Chapter 2. As the door opens, a group of 5 people who can only be described as superheroes from their outfits enter. The apparent leader steps forward with electricity crackling in his fist and tells the masked men they're all under arrest. Unafraid, the men unload their rifles upon this man all at once. As the bullets impact his body though, the man remains unaffected. The bullets simply fall off him without being able to pierce his body. Then, the 5 superheroes jump into action as one. The leader, Hornet, wears a black bodysuit with yellow accents around the shoulders and waist. These raise the black of his bodysuit in such a way as to imitate the shape of lightning bolts. Going up from his neck, the suit wraps around the top of his face in a black eye mask with yellow lenses. On his chest sits a prominent yellow H. Hornet stands proud and unafraid with a bullet caught between his yellow-clad index finger and thumb. Next is Iron Angel, a woman donning a grayish-blue futuristic set of light armor. With white accents around her neck and limbs, she has a visor going across her eyes and what looks to be the mic of a headset coming down from her ear. She shoots at the men with a pair of laser pistols in her hands. She's quick to notify her victims that they're simply paralysis bullets, so they needn't worry too much. After her we see Primavera, a woman wearing a flowing pink dress with open sides, a white lined sash around her waist and flower crown atop her head. Her getup is completed with a pink domino mask worn across her eyes. Her power is the control of plants. Using vines harder than even steel, she ties the men up and leaves them unable to harm anyone. Lastly, the pale blonde twins who are known together as Gemini, clad in pure white bodysuits with a geometrically styled G displayed on their chests. They also have golden accents above their waists, on their thighs and their wrists. Together, they use their powers of telekinesis to pummel their enemies with dense and heavy golden balls. As these heroes continue their battle with the armed men, the kidnapped boy asks his own question. After observing their outfits and powers, he wonders if these are Nova Guardians. Assuming that they are indeed just that, he goes on to call the whole situation lame. While staring at Hornet, he expresses his disappointment with a tired smile on his face. Even now, with him kidnapped, his father couldn't be bothered to come himself. He just sent these failures. Intimidated by how easily the Nova Guardians are defeating his men, the boss decides to flee for now. He orders one of his men to open a portal for their retreat. The man summons forth a rectangular blue door that looks to be made of light. As it expands from between his hands into a full-sized door, the boss grabs the boy off his chair and prepares to enter. Chapter 3. Turning to the portal, the boss grabs the kidnapped boy by the collar of his shirt and drags him towards it. Unnoticed by him, a vine slowly snakes its way towards the boy's leg. When the man has one foot already in the portal and is unable to turn back, Primavera puts her plan in motion. Coiling her vine around the boy's leg, she pulls him away from the kidnapper and causes him to go through without him. Even as he reaches out to try and grab the boy back, he's unable to reach him and is sucked through the portal. With the boy safe, Primavera's vines remain wrapped all around his body. Meanwhile, he looks as annoyed as ever, a frustrated expression on his face. However, what happens next catches her completely off guard. The masked man who created the portal steps on the root of the vine wrapped around the boy and rips it apart with his hands. Though the boy is still wrapped in vines, there's nothing connecting them to Primavera, and more so now he's just bound. He orders another masked man to carry the boy through the portal at once as he struggles to maintain it. As this happens, Hornet sees the situation and desperately attempts to stop them. Leaping forward, he throws a metal dart attached to electrically conductive thread at the portal maker. Pushing his powers through it, he electrocutes the man in an attempt to force the portal closed before the boy can be taken through. Somehow, even through the intense pain he's suffering, the man manages to maintain the portal just barely long enough for his comrade to step through with the boy. With his task completed, he lets the portal break down and collapses onto the floor, panting for breath. Infuriated, Hornet smacks his own head with an open palm and demands the man tell him where his portal sent the boy. With the masked men's boss, he arrives in another warehouse through his portal and assures someone that they have the boy. However, he then realizes a major problem. They don't know where the last portal sent him since the portal maker was struggling to keep his focus while being electrocuted. Up above the clouds in an unknown location, the kidnapped boy and the masked man who took him float in the open sky for a few brief moments. As they realize just where the portal has sent them, the two share a moment of internal horror. All the masked man can bring himself to do is utter a curse as they begin their freefall to the earth below. Chapter 4. As they begin their descent to the ground, the masked man's mind is running a mile a minute. Why did the portal spit them out at such a ridiculously dangerous location? For that matter, what in the world is he supposed to do now? He believes that he'll survive the fall just fine. His thoughts on that particular fact make it clear that if not all the masked men, then at least he is indeed a superpowered individual like the Nova Guardians. Though, even if he can survive, the boy they've kidnapped will most definitely turn to paste the second he makes contact with the ground. With their descent only getting faster the longer they fall, he's running out of time to make a decision. In the heat of the moment, he comes up with the only possible plan that he can in the crazy situation that he's in. He dives towards the boy who's falling just a few meters away from him. Grabbing him by the shirt the second he's close enough, he puts his hastily formed plan into motion. He embraces the boy as tightly as he can and turns them around so that his own, tougher body will take the brunt of the damage from their fall. As they get closer to the earth, they see just where exactly they're about to land. They are on top of a vast expanse of crops, fields, and open land with a single street running between them. Directly below them lays a large farm, complete with a barn, a home, and other large sheds. With their impact closer than ever, the masked man can't help but panic. What if his plan doesn't work? He doesn't want to imagine what'll happen if he allows the boy to die. After all, a kidnapped corpse isn't going to bring in any sort of ransom money. Not the way it would when alive, at least. The pair finally crash straight through the roof of the barn and land on a large, heaping stack of hay. After taking all the force of their impact on himself, the masked man gasps for breath. The boy sits atop his stomach with his hands on the man's shoulders. The impact seems to have broken apart his handcuffs and freed him as well. Looking down at the man who saved him, he expresses how impressed he is by the fact he's survived. He was sure the man would have broken his neck at least. As the boy pats the hay out of his hair and clothes, the masked man asks him if he's okay. They can't afford for him to be hurt after all. The boy simply grins down at him, teasing the mask for being worried about him. Looking up at the hole they made in the barn's roof, the masked man counts them lucky for at least landing on the hay like they did. Then, he comes up with even more questions. Where exactly are they? And why did they end up here anyways? There was no farm in any part of the plans their organization made for this kidnapping scheme. He tries to contact his comrades through an earpiece that's worn by them all, but he finds that there's no signal either. He's fully stranded in this unknown place and he has no way of getting in touch with his allies. Then, as if to make matters even worse, they're found. And not just by anyone either. Standing in the entrance of the barn is the man who must own this farm. In brown boots, gray trousers, a black undershirt and a red button down, he stares at the two people laying on the hay. To make things even worse, he's holding a shotgun pointed directly at them. Stepping towards them with his gun ready to fire, the man demands to know why in the world they're in his barn and who they are. The boy answers in the same uncaring and dissociated way he's been acting throughout the entire ordeal of his kidnapping. He hasn't got a damn clue why they're here. The end, for now.